Protesting is very important for a modern society. It signals to our politicians that we are unhappy, not okay with their decisions. But in a world of rising populism, protests are just not enough anymore. In this episode, we will talk about why it's just not enough to protest in a world of populists and authoritarianism. We will go back in history and look at successful resistance, and from there on draw alternative actions that we can do today. Welcome to the Change Age. I'm Michael and we're here to make transition work. So in the last couple of months I've been thinking a lot about how to counter populism and authoritarianism, especially since the last election here in Germany, where the right-wing party took a lot of seats. There's a lot of right-wing and populist parties gaining power in Europe in general, and there's whatever is happening in the US right now, right? So that makes me feel uneasy. I want to do something against that. I think there's a populist, authoritarian power grab around the world at the moment. And what do we do against that? So in order for us to understand what we can do against authoritarianism, we first have to understand their strategies. What do they want to accomplish and how will they do it? How will they try to win? Authoritarianism, simply put, is a small group of people trying to consolidate all power within them, fighting against political pluralism and misusing the political system in order to enrich themselves. Think Mussolini, Hitler or Stalin. These authoritarian leaders have a playbook of sorts. It's a common set of strategies and tactics for them in order to gain power and to also stay there. It's 5 things. They scapegoat and pit groups against each other, actively spread misinformation and conspiracy, crack down on their opponents, undermine state institutions, laws and regulations, and they make people feel powerless to change things. All in all, they want to destroy political and social institutions. If there is no law, if there are no courts upholding laws and regulations, if there is no media or it's co-opted, if we are fighting against our neighbors because we think in some made-up story, if there is no safety nets, that's how they gain power. While in a democratic society, protests might actually work.
Like here, where we are protesting massive budget cuts to Berlin universities. Let's see if it works out.
They are not enough to stop future autocrats. For them, demonstrations are just a minor nuisance. And they might actually help them in some way if there are riots. If people are going out rioting, destroying cars, destroying property, that's the perfect backdrop for autocrats to push even stricter laws. Just look at the LA protests. It was mainly peaceful protests. There were a few people setting cars on fire. And that was a perfect context for sending in the National Guard. That isn't to say that we shouldn't protest, even if we have autocratic systems being built or already being there. They are very important in pulling in people. We can send them a message. We can send people still sitting on their couches a very important message of we are the people, we are going to the streets and we are showing that we are not okay with this. But people will soon lose the ability to protest when safety nets are getting eroded. If there's the army standing against them and threatening them, that's when people go back and feeling insecure and feeling unsafe and not protesting, going out on the street. So what we have to do is to give them something alternative besides protesting. Okay, but what does that mean concretely? What can we do? What should we do? For that, let's take a look at one of the most prominent figures in history that has fought against authoritarian regimes, Mahatma Gandhi. What Gandhi did is, besides hunger strikes and demonstrations, something which is called khadi. It's a spinning producer and exporter of clothes. And many of the Indian population weren't able to get any jobs in these industries, in these factories, right? The British factories. So for him, convincing people to spin their own clothes meant that they first didn't have to buy clothes from the British Empire, and Indian was a very, very important market for the Brits. And it also meant for them to be able to produce something that they could sell. So it was really bringing together two things that could help him in going against the British Empire. It wasn't just symbolic protest, it was real systemic change. By encouraging Indians to spin their own yarn, Gandhi weakened British economic control and rebuilt dignity and livelihood at the same time. And that's the lesson, right? Protesting can signal resistance, but building parallel systems, like Gandhi's clothes movement, shifts power and builds long-lasting momentum. And this is also what we must do today. So we are just a small channel right now. We just started out. We have a lot of different insights and strategies on how to make social transformation work, how to build better societies. So if you want to support us, subscribe to this channel, give us a like on the video, write some comments. We would really, really appreciate your help. We can learn from Gandhi's powerful strategies. Populist and autocratic leaders want to slash our institutions and intimidate us. But what if we set new parallel institutions in place that serve us? What I particularly mean is three types of institutions: economic, social, and political. Let's go through them one by one. If we produce stuff that we need by ourselves, we are thereby not financing the supporters, the financial supporters of autocrats, such as big business or oligarchs. So what we should do is create food co-ops, found social enterprises. We should produce our own products through, for instance, open hardware projects. And we should definitely refrain from corporate products and services. As I said before, autocratic leaders will try to shut down all the aid structures, all the support structures, especially for the most vulnerable. So what we should do instead is to create mutual aid societies. We should support disadvantaged families. We should offer places for education, give room to grieve, that's a very important one, and bring people together to exchange ideas, to create alternative futures. Third, political institutions. Autocrats will try to take away power from agencies and from courts. To, of course, support politicians that fight against authoritarian power grabs with our votes. But we can also create alternative news outlets to report on what's happening on the ground. And also, we could found our own political movements and parties. I think the most important task for us in an autocratic takeover is to create solidarity and hope. If we all work together, besides protesting, we can create powerful alternative institutions. And that's how we create a future that's worth living in. So to round this episode off, I would like to hear from you. What kind of powerful citizen-led alternative institutions would you like to see? What kind of ideas do you have? What do you want to create? Leave your ideas in the comments. And if you like, here somewhere on the screen is a video about the 3 most impactful books that I've read for changemakers. See you next time. Clickety click.